Looking from today, I must say that I'm not the man of the Cold War. I am the man of what came later. When I was a kid who was curious about the world, my family was very curious about the world, so from my father I learned a lot about this world and international affairs when I was young.
Dr. Orlov, welcome to Trending Echoes. This is a podcast from Trends Research Advisory. We are honored to meet you here. And today we're going to discuss, to elaborate further on our recent events. Now, the first question is that you were born in 1968, and that seems there was a big shift in the global dynamics. How that impacted in your life?
Yeah, that's true. I'm not a very young man, but the year I was born was 1968, was shaped with a number of events. One which you probably have in mind was the Soviet invasion in Czechoslovakia, which put Europe in a very cold security environment for quite some time. Interestingly enough, there were also two other events coinciding on the same year, which I could not appreciate at that year. I was too small. I can just understand it from now. One was the youth protest, some call it revolution in Europe, which appeared and then disappeared. And one more event was which directly affects my current business. It was the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which was signed in 1968, regardless of the fact that the Soviet troops were in Czechoslovakia. All major nations, including United States, United Kingdom, Soviet Union, and others, agreed to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons. Looking from today, I must say that I'm not the man of the Cold War. I am the man of what came later. When I was a kid who was curious about the world, my family was very curious about the world, so from my father I learned a lot about this world and international affairs when I was young. And I'm probably a man of detente. Detente is that period which followed the coldest phase of the Cold War, which made it more relaxed for the people in my continent, in Europe, or broader between the Soviet Union and the West to collaborate, to have human-to-human contacts. I think that was important. That's in my mind. And it's still important now when we have very difficult times in the European continent, when security of my country is very strongly affected by what we call the collective West and its aggressive behavior against my country, when we see our enlargement of NATO, when we see more and more Western arms fighting against Russia. With all that, I have in mind that international relations not only go one way, this or that. I always remind myself that after some difficult moments, sooner or later, in this case maybe later rather than sooner, there will be a change of flow. But for new detente, for a new situation of improvement of international climate, one should work very hard. It's not something which is given to us by itself. To prepare improvement of the relationship, you should work. One should work. Many should work on a new security structure, on new, fresh ideas for that.
It is. This reminds me of the old saying that Rome wasn't built in a day. We need, I think, to bridging the gap between the other, between the other parties and other nations. And this leads me to the other question. You have wide knowledge and expertise in terms of security and nuclear non-proliferation. Therefore, could you please share your perspective about the current global challenges and the opportunity at the same hand in preventing of the mass destruction?
Let me be very brief and concise here to avoid the situation that I would give a long lecture instead of our very nice dynamic conversation. Proliferation of nuclear weapons is probably one of the most dangerous things which can occur. The more weapons or the more nations with the nuclear weapons would mean less global security, would mean undiminishing regional security in those places where nuclear weapons exist or may appear, and make the world much less of a safer place. In that sense, NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, is still with us. As I said, it's the same age of mine, and it's quite a healthy treaty. Of course, what was signed 50 plus years ago, today, in a different century, in a different millennium, may seem something how it still exists. But it's quite a strong treaty. It's a very short treaty, only 11 articles, and all of them are quite brief, which demonstrates that multilateral diplomacy could produce very good fruits, which are with us today. This provides a balance of interest for those who have nuclear weapons, like my country, Russia, for instance, and who do not have nuclear weapons, like, for instance, United Arab Emirates, so that everybody is equally interested in that treaty. The treaty does not prohibit development of nuclear energy. Quite the opposite. It promotes development of nuclear energy if it is developed for peaceful purposes. But I would mention only three main challenges which the nuclear non-proliferation regime currently faces. First challenge is that not all of the countries are in the nuclear non-proliferation treaty. Most of them. I must say that the latest party to the treaty was Palestine, but not all of them. And as we are here in this region, let me give you just one example, Israel. Israel has not only dozens, but most likely close to 100, if not more, nuclear weapons. Israel never recognized that. Israel never denied that. Neither yes nor no, but we know it has nuclear weapons. Or with all what we see in this region going on, does it provide more stability or does it provide more concern? I don't think Israeli nuclear weapons provide any stability for the region, and I always tell Israeli people that they are not safer with their own nuclear weapons, although they may not agree with me for this or that reason. There is a very good idea which is with us for quite a number of years, starting 1974, long story, which is establishment of the zone free of nuclear weapons and all other weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East. Unfortunately, because the United States do not want Israel to get rid of nuclear weapons, there is not enough pressure on Israel to join a conversation and preparation for the treaty. The region would be definitely safe if neither Israel nor anybody else in the region has nuclear weapons. The second challenge is new potential countries with nuclear weapons. If your neighbor has nuclear weapons, it may be tempting for you also to have your own ones. Maybe if your neighbor does not have nuclear weapons, but you suspect it may clandestinely work on nuclear weapons, that you also may think, okay, I also will clandestinely work on my nuclear weapons. This may be a very dangerous chain reaction. This is why those countries which peacefully develop nuclear energy or want to peacefully develop nuclear energy, they should be transparent with what they do, with their current activities, and with their plans. There is International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, who provides inspections to control these activities. In this particular region in the Gulf, there are two nations who develop actively nuclear energy already, and there are some others who are joining. These nations are Iran and UAE. We have no questions on the UAE activity and intent. It's purely peaceful. We have certain questions on Iran. We should watch it very carefully, not denying Iran from its right to develop nuclear energy. Russia helps doing so to Iran, building Bushehr nuclear power plant just on the other side of this Gulf, and more reactors to do so. But transparency is important. Security, transparency, and trust are important. The same applies to Saudi Arabia, although, of course, for the Saudi, they are on a much less developed scale here. I just gave you a couple of examples. There are more. The studies of my institute give an idea of at least 9 potential countries with nuclear weapons in the future, which better should be avoided through diplomacy and transparency. And the final third concern is nuclear disarmament. Coming from a state with nuclear weapons from Russia, I may sound odd saying that nuclear disarmament is very important. It is very important. It's a commitment of all states with nuclear weapons, which they subscribe to in the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. But to get rid of nuclear weapons, you need to improve holistically the whole international climate. And unfortunately, we're now in a completely different chapter. Thank you.
Thank you. This is quite fruitful. And I think not only you're the think tank that you're representing the PIR, but also your doctorate, which is in 1990s, also speak and clarifying that. So could you please give us a brief about the PhD that you have obtained in 19?
Yeah, I wrote my PhD on the same subject I just was talking about, on the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, but on my own experience of that treaty, because as a young man, I went to a conference in New York of all the states parties to the treaty, who extended the treaty indefinitely. In international law, maybe there is no such word as indefinite. Everything finishes somewhere. But, well, this is philosophy. But we made that treaty what we believe is alive indefinitely, to produce good fruits for prevention of proliferation of nuclear weapons. And it was in 1995. I was impressed with the quality of cooperation of 180 plus nations. Cooperation spirit, if is possible, again, with a lot of effort on different sides. So when I came back home, I started writing that dissertation, which later was published, was discussed, and which also provides some guidance, some ideas of how three pillars of nuclear non-proliferation should be developed. And these three pillars are nuclear proliferation prevention, peaceful use of nuclear energy, and nuclear disarmament. If the edifice, if the building is built in a way that three pillars are equal, then the treaty is healthy, then we are all safer. If the building is built in a way that some pillar is stronger but others are weaker, then the building would collapse. My message, but also part of my mission and mission of my center, that we prevent the proliferation of nuclear weapons, that we make the world safer. I worked on that not only during my PhD times, but also when I served on the board for the Secretary General of the United Nations on disarmament matters, and worked cooperatively with people from different regions, including from the Middle East.
Inshallah. The past year, I think you're well aware that the COP28 was here in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and it seems the discussion has been a lot about the environmental issues, and it has been declared that the UAE is leading a new project and a new system of melting down these challenges and break the barriers between the nation. Therefore, I just wanted to know, is the environmental challenges, is it an obstacle to the non-proliferation countries, or is it an opportunity?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations with COP28. You did it as the United Arab Emirates very professionally. I know the trends contributed to that, so congratulations with that effort. I can imagine it was quite an effort. But the fact that in this world now we may have a consensus speaks for itself. That's impressive. On your question more specifically, nuclear energy is one of the cleanest sources of energy, but also is one of the most technologically advanced. Thinking of the environment, of the climate, developing nuclear energy, investing in nuclear energy, you help the environment and you help the goals related to our climate concerns. Yes, there are issues. There are always issues. There are issues of waste, radioactive waste, and there are issues of safety of nuclear installations. But to that, you have the answers. And the more experienced we become with the nuclear energy, the better responses we can provide to avoid any situation with the waste, and to control it, and also to improve nuclear safety in a way that nobody of your fellow citizens will say, "Oh, I am scared of that nuclear power plant." Quite the opposite. People will say, "I am proud of that nuclear power plant which my country has developed." And for that, you need to prepare, to train, to educate a generation of your own engineers who would be people of the high-tech age of the 21st century, who I'm sure they are, and they've been trained, and then you will have the elite on the technical side, because dealing with nuclear energy requires not only building a nuclear power plant. It requires good brains, and developing brains, investing in that is, I think, what UAE has been doing, as well as other nations, quite a number of them, who are developing nuclear energy, including my country, Russia. We are also very concerned about climate and climate change. We do believe that through development of nuclear energy, we contribute to the goals which were discussed and which were addressed in the document of the COP28.
This is actually lure me to the other question, which is what are the key elements that you emphasize in educating and preparing the next generation in this particular field?
Yeah, actually, my institute, Peer Center, deals a lot with education and training. I would confess that my own education is not in nuclear physics. It is in international relations and in international security. So when I first came to talk and provide education to young nuclear physicists at the Moscow Physics Engineering Institute in Russia, I myself felt a little bit uncomfortable. Nuclear physics definitely has not been my strongest point. It takes time and effort. It takes, of course, a need to build a whole team of educators. It's not only my own responsibility, but responsibility of an excellent group of top specialists we have in Russia on that topic, both Russian and international. But the criteria, how we educate a new generation of experts in non-proliferation, in international security, or train those who already have certain experience but need to improve their knowledge, expand their knowledge, is threefold. First is critical thinking. We do not indoctrinate people. We don't tell them, do. We try them because we believe young people are capable of asking questions, difficult questions to themselves. We develop critical thinking skills into them. Secondly, we need to provide high quality information, because if you have good readings, right readings, if you know how to expand your knowledge, this is excellent. And the third pillar and the third element of our education is community, feeling of community among those who we educate and train. They should be, and they are, from different nations, that they exchange views, how they feel it, and listen to each other, to experience of each other's countries. So they should be multicultural, exchanging their own philosophical views of the things. So I trust young people, they can do it, they should do it. And of course, when we build that community, they should continue to communicate even after they graduate from our programs. So this is a true community where people maybe reach in a position now of a minister somewhere in Central Asia, in Kyrgyzstan, could take a phone, or now, these days, not necessarily a phone, but maybe just send something on the social media, a question to a person who he was educated together at Peer Center maybe some 15 or 20 years ago, to a different continent, to Australia or to Argentina, just for exchanging the views and ideas. This is how I see it.
Well, the organization that you represent, Peer, has completed almost 30 years old, almost like my age. Therefore, what are the biggest or the key achievement that you believe that the center has accomplished in that past 30 years?
Yeah, it is true. We were founded almost 30 years ago, and this year is the year of hard work, but also the year of celebration, and we will combine the two. The key achievements are, first, we are the leader in Russia and a leader globally on the issues related to what we talked with you in the beginning of our conversation on the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. We have the top expertise here. We do advise the governments, we do advise experts, we do advise business communities on these issues. Second achievement is educator, also what we just mentioned, the feeling of sharing knowledge was not necessarily there when I founded the center 29 plus years ago. It came with the experience, but it is one of the most pleasant things, but also one of the most important things. And the third major achievements is that when people need to expand their knowledge about these issues, when people need to see some sensitive issues to be addressed, they go to our publications. We are a very successful publisher. We published a number of journals, hundreds of issues, monographs, publications, reports. Most of them are available to public. You can go to Amazon to get them, or you can go to a bookstore in Moscow to find them, or to our website to find most of them. But it is also true that some of the reports which are addressed to government on the specific issues are not necessarily public, but they may be no less influential, maybe even more.
That was my last question, and I believe that nuclear is an open horizon, and it doesn't take a small podcast in 45 minutes to understand it comprehensively. But thankfully, we have learned a lot from you, and we are looking forward to meet you on next, inshallah, events or roundtables about that topic. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had an extensive talk and fruitful talk with Dr. Orlov from the Peer Institution from Russia. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you very much for your questions, your interest, and of course for this very warm welcome my colleague and I received today at the Trends.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Thank you very much.